Welcome into another episode of Respect Coin. I, as always, am your host, Michael Bolling, and as always, we are presented by 𝗻creek Chicago Southland. Are you ready for your winning moment? Find it at 𝗻creek Chicago Southland, where the action never stops. Play the hottest table games, enjoy the newest slots, celebrate big jackpots at 𝗻creek Casino. There's a win waiting for you around every corner. This is episode number 30. Haven't been on every single week. Have had some times where we've paused, but really proud of everything we've done to this point. We've had some wins. We've had some losses. We're going to stack more wins. We're going to hopefully avoid more losses. But a really quiet time on the calendar. The NBA is over. The NHL is over. We are a couple weeks away from training camp in the NBA or in the NFL, but we do have WNBA basketball for the rest of the summer, and that's what we'll lean in on in the next few months as we also navigate betting on baseball, which is obviously extremely difficult. So still a ton to bet on, still a ton to talk about, still a lot of fun to have. Thank you to everyone who has listened to this point. Everyone who's subscribed, who's getting these automatic downloads, everything. We really appreciate you. I get to see some of the numbers on the back end, and I'm really pleased. This has been a lot of fun for me. Hopefully it's been a lot of fun for you as the listener, and we will continue to kind of try and innovate. Got some big plans for football season. I'll keep that in my back pocket for now. But as we do most weeks, we have to crown a coin respecter. Don't have a disrespecter this week. Not enough to chew on to get to maybe throw someone under the bus. Let's highlight the positives. And for this week's coin respecter of the week, it's none other than Chicago's own Angel Reese. Let me repeat that. The coin respecter of the week is the Chicago Sky's star, Angel Reese, for many reasons. But first and foremost, she's playing the best basketball of her young career. She has emerged as a playmaker in this league after Courtney Vandersloot tore her ACL. The Sky have been looking for her to be more of a facilitator. Obviously, she's not a point guard. She's not a guard at all. She's a forward, but she does have lots of skill as it pertains to passing the ball and getting her teammates involved. The double-double Barbie is back. She's dropping dimes. All of those things said, she has been playing lights out. Her stats in the last 4 games, the Sky are 2-2, and this is after she recorded her first career triple-double. On the 22nd versus the Dream, she had 10 points, 19 boards, 4 assists, and 3 steals. On the 24th against the Sparks, I was at that game. She had 18 points, 17 boards, 6 assists, and 4 steals on 50% shooting. 627 against the Valkyries, 17 and 18. And then most recently on Candace Parker jersey retirement night in LA against the Sparks, 24 points, 16 boards, 7 assists on 52% shooting. She is absolutely balling. Haters be damned. Say whatever you want. She is affecting the game in so many ways these days. And it's leading to me winning some parlays, winning some bets. She's been really consistent over these last 4 games, and I expect that to continue. So ways that I like to bet Angel. Double-double is now going to start being close to minus 200 and worse. So if you want to bet this, you're going to have to parlay it with something. And I suggest you look at the assists. 4+ assists has been as close to plus money, sometimes even more than plus money. That's a way that you can get that over the hump. And we talk a lot about the rebounds. She's been between 12 and 14 assists or rebounds pretty consistently during the stretch. I don't see that changing. So coin respecter of the week, shout out to Angel Reese, the Chi-Town Barbie, the rebounds queen. And just another note, when we're talking about respecting coin, it doesn't necessarily only have to do with betting. This woman has trademarked rebounds. She sees what you're saying and flips it into revenue for herself. She be getting to the bag. Shout out to Angel Reese. Hope you continue to play this well throughout the stretch of this season. all the credit is deserved these days. On the topic of the WNBA, we do have tons of games over the weekend, over the holiday weekend, and I'm going to put together a 5-leg parlay for Thursday's slate. There's 5 games. I'm looking at about 6-1 odds. Let's get into them. First, Skylar Diggins to score 15 points. She's cashed this in 9 of her last 10 games. She's been playing really aggressive. You've seen the clips online. If you haven't, just put her name in the search bar. She's been extremely feisty, but extremely productive and one of the better players in the league this season. 𝗂𝗎𝗓 Stevens, 10-plus points. This is cashed in 7 of her last 10 games. I was in attendance at Sky Sparks at Wintrust Arena. It was a revenge game for her. She played extremely well. She's been shooting really well from 3, knocking down a lot of those, so she should get to 10 points. Jackie Young of the Aces to record 4 assists. She's cashed this in 7 of her last 10 games. And the last time she took on the Fever, she had 7 assists, and that was a little over a week or 2 ago. Sabrina Ionescu, 4-plus rebounds. Now, you might be asking why I'm not adding the points in or maybe the assists. She's been very up and down in that area, but one thing that's been consistent for her in her last 5, 4 of her last 5, she's cashed on this number, and 8 of her last 10 against the Sparks specifically. So I do like this. And finally, the best shooter you may not have heard of yet, 𝗵𝗔 𝗰𝗶𝗹. She plays on the Phoenix Mercury, and she has an absolute burner. She's hit at least 4 threes in 5 straight games. So I'm only taking her to make 2, playing it conservative. Those 5 legs, all parlayed on FanDuel, is plus 667. And I really like that for Thursday night. Tap in with me on social if you're tailing. Tap in with me if you're fading. Let me know what you think may not work on this. But I like these 5 legs. Skylar Diggins to score 15 or more. 𝗂𝗎𝗓 Stevens to score 10 points or more. Jackie Young to have 4-plus assists. Sabrina Ionescu to have 4-plus rebounds. And 𝗵𝗔 𝗰𝗶𝗹 to knock down a pair of threes. Plus 667 on FanDuel. All right, we're flying through. Let's get some MLB updates. First and foremost, I'm taking a look at my season-long futures bets, giving a little update here. First, we have Luis Robert and Pete Crow Armstrong to both record 30 stolen bases. That is a $50 bet to win $175. PCA sitting pretty right now at 25 stolen bases. We have just gotten into July. Barring injury, feeling very good about this. And speaking of injury, Luis Robert is sitting at 22 stolen bases. We need 8 more, but he is currently on the injured list for the White Sox. Unsure of when he'll return, but hoping it's nothing too long-term and can get him back on the field. I know the White Sox potentially could use him as a trade chip around the deadline. A lot of teams obviously needing that kind of speed and that potential production if a change of scenery will help for him. But feeling pretty good. 25 of 30 from PCA, 22 of 30. Hopefully Robert can get back on the field ASAP. On the other side, we have a home run parlay with Miguel Vargas and Seiya Suzuki. That is a $100 bet to win $375. And lo and behold, Seiya Suzuki has already cleared his 20 home runs. He has got 23. He has been an awesome part of that Cubs lineup this season. So we are already in the green on half of this. The other side, Miguel Vargas has 10 home runs, and we need 15. This is the week that I think we might get some action. The White Sox will be taking on the Rockies in Colorado, so you get the Coors Field bump. Hopefully, as we've seen, Miguel Vargas has been a very streaky hitter. He had 3 home runs in his trip to Wrigley with the wind blowing out. I do think this is an opportunity for him to get a couple. If we can get out of Coors Field with 2 more homers, I feel great about this. But Miguel Vargas has been awesome this season for the White Sox, and I'm feeling really good about this. So we're in the clear with Suzuki. He has cashed his number. Just need 5 more homers from Miguel Vargas, and we are going to turn $100 into $375. All right, as we continue to discuss MLB, talk a little bit about the White Sox. A lot of people know my fandom and my affiliation as it pertains to baseball. I do root for the Chicago Cubs, but I am not a White Sox hater by any means. And there's a bet that I think that White Sox fans might be intrigued by, and bettors all around should probably be intrigued by as well. I'm looking at the White Sox current win total, and that number right now on FanDuel is set at 53.5 wins. You might be saying this maybe isn't a good bet. At minus 105, you're basically looking at even money. And let me talk to you a little bit about why I think betting the over makes sense. The White Sox currently have 28 wins this season, and it is now July 2nd. Last year, they didn't win their 28th game until August 6th. I know they had an extremely long losing streak in there, but the main reason why I think this total is going to go over is the youth has taken over for the White Sox, and their pitching remains strong. Say what you want about the middle of their bullpen, some of the long relief guys, that's fine. But when you think about the starting pitching efforts, when you got Shane Smith, you've got Sean Burke, you've got Cannon back, those three guys should be mainstays. Obviously, they're going to get a bulk of these innings going forward. And when you look at the back end of the bullpen, they've called up Grant Taylor, and he's been their de facto closer. So I feel like with all of those things mixed up on the pitching side, and you look at Kyle Teel, you look at Edgar Quero, you look at Chase Maedroth, the youth movement is here. The White Sox have shown to this point that they're not afraid of bringing these guys up and giving them a shot. So you can only forecast that that's going to happen a little bit more as we get closer to the end of the season. Colson Montgomery playing better. Will he come up? Noah Schultz now in AAA. Will he come up? Noah Schultz has been named to the Futures game, so you will see him on a more national stage over the All-Star break. All of these things mixed into one. 28 more wins. Is it possible? That's going to get you pretty close. And you're really just discussing how the AL Central has been down. There's no team besides the Detroit Tigers that have a record over 500. So there's opportunity to get some wins in the division. But I do see this being a situation where the White Sox do go over 53.5 wins. I think before the season I had them around 60 wins. And maybe people called me crazy, but I don't look as crazy as people thought way back then. So White Sox win total currently sitting at 53.5 wins on FanDuel. That's minus 105. They've got 28 wins now, and they're way ahead of pace from last year's kind of record-setting season. But the youth movement, to me, I feel like is going to continue to pick up steam. These guys are getting all the experience they can get. They're getting better. They're getting more comfortable. I do see this team playing better baseball as we go along in the season. Speaking of win totals, I have a little sneak nuke, and it is in the division. If you haven't been watching what the Detroit Tigers are doing, they are probably one of the more fun teams in baseball to watch, and I have a ton of people out in Detroit that I love and respect. Hard for me to say anything bad about Detroit. And this is a year where I feel like they've finally arrived. Last year was a little bit of a surprise. They snuck up on people, but they are in it to win it. And right now you can get the Detroit Tigers to have the best record in baseball at plus 550 on FanDuel. And just to let you know, people are betting this. People are betting this. I looked at this morning when I was doing my prep. It was plus 600. Right before I turned the camera on, it's down to plus 550. So somebody's betting it, and I think it's a smart bet. They're the second best run differential in the AL, and they're playing in the worst division in baseball. As I mentioned a little before, they're the only team in the division with a record over 500. They're going to win the division. It is pretty much over at this point. So you have to consider the Dodgers, who are up at the favorites right now. They're going to have a little tougher time with their division going forward, with the Giants, with the Padres. You're betting on a little bit of a dip from other teams, but you are confident that the Tigers are here to stay. So I'm taking a flyer on them at plus 550 on FanDuel to have the best record, to finish with the best record in Major League Baseball. Finally, quick episode. Not a ton to discuss, but have a little parlay that I want to talk to the people about, and this is a division winner parlay. We've talked about the win totals. Now let's get into the division winners. And I have cooked up something quite fun. So we're going to bet each division. Some of them are over. Let's get into it. The Tigers, Astros, and Dodgers, all to win their divisions. They all have commanding leads. These are locks. The Astros would have to have some catastrophic injuries to give up that lead. Same with the Dodgers and the Tigers. So there you go. You have 3 knocked out right off the bat. Let's look at the NL Central. The Cubs have the lead right now. It's narrow. The Brewers are hard charging. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. I never count out the Cardinals because they are the Cardinals. But I do still think that this is the Cubs' division to lose. And in the NL East, the Mets have lost their division lead. The Phillies are now on top by, I believe, a game and a half. But I do think the Mets have what it takes to get back on track. Yes, their pitching is hurt, but they will get healthy. They will spend at the deadline. I'm sure of it. The way that Cohen operates out there, I have no reason to believe they're not going to push their chips into the middle, and they kind of have to. I do worry a little bit about the Phillies. This is their last stab at this. A lot of free agents coming off the books next year, but I do think the Mets are a better team all around. So now you have 5. You have the Tigers, Astros, Dodgers, Cubs, and Mets. Finally, the AL East. The Yankees are leading the division. The Blue Jays are on a wild, hot streak right now. But I would like to take the Rays to win the division. And they're probably the best team that no one's talked about all season long. From my experience, the Rays always seem to have some secret sauce. I always feel like if they trade someone, that means that person is pretty much done. If they acquire someone, they know how they're going to use them and maximize them. They're one of the smartest organizations in all of baseball. And again, quiet as it's kept, obviously they're playing their home games at, the Yankee Stadium or the Yankees spring training complex. So that's a bummer. But I think the Tampa fans are more interested. I've been reading a little bit of the tea leaves. I have some friends down there. It's much more accessible. St. Pete, there's more fans there that can come to the games. It feels kind of right for them. So you do have this kind of year or a couple years where they're going to be playing in this minor league stadium. Maybe it's a rallying cry for the fans, but I mean, call it unlikely if you want. Everything they've gone through to this point, they lost Tropicana Field during the tropical storms. They have some things that they can rally around. The team is extremely solid. They've got really good hitters up and down that lineup. They've got strong pitching. It does make sense for them to push their chips in. Now, the Rays sometimes do not push their chips in, so that would be the only reason to have caution for this. But at plus 500 odds to boost this thing up, I really like the Rays, and if they want to push their chips into the middle, they have tons of prospects that they can deal for some guys, some rentals, some people that can put them over the edge. So the division winner parlay right before we get into the midseason classic, Tigers to win the AL Central, Astros to win the AL West, Dodgers to win the NL West, Cubs to win the NL Central, Mets to win the NL East, and the Tampa Bay Rays to win the American League East. That is 30-1 odds on DraftKings. I punched it in on FanDuel, and it's only 20-1 odds. So there is some value. Make sure you're line shopping for all of these bets. I try and give you the best value on this show. 30-1 odds. I'll take the swing at midseason. $10 will win you 300. We love the odds. We love the sound of that. All right, that's a wrap. Quick one, like I said, next week we will talk MLB midseason futures. I'll go through all the awards, the ones that make the most sense. We'll take a look at if there's value to jump in before we get to the trade deadline. And then the following week, we will have an NFL futures preview. Training camp is going to be coming in hot and heavy. Never too early to start placing NFL futures bets. So super pumped for that. Appreciate everyone who listened. I rattled off a lot in this episode in a short amount of time. So if you have questions, hit me up on social at @MikeAlexBowling on all platforms. Happy to have discussions. Happy to talk some ball. And hopefully we can continue some winning ways and get some cash over the summer. Build our bankroll up so we can have some stuff to spend when we get to football season. And it will be here before we know it. So appreciate again everyone who's listened, who's supported, who's dropped feedback, who's subscribed, everything. Really important. Really, really thankful for all of that. So until next week, I am Michael Bolling, and this, as always, is Respect Coin.